May I now request Professor Vijay Raghavan. He is from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. And Professor Raghavan is a voice which is heard with respect in the circles of prison administrators. He will elaborate on the role of NGOs in the prison administration and will try to find out the solutions to the question mentioned by Shri Somesh Goyal ji, कि जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. So welcome, Professor Raghavan, for your expression.
Thank you so much for that very kind introduction, Dr. Singh. I will straight come into the topic for which I have been asked to speak today, which is the role of NGOs in prisons. So if one looks at the whole issue of what is it that NGOs or civil society organizations can do, and my very short answer is they have a huge role to play. And this is something that has been reiterated time and again by various committees that have been set up. Right from the time of the Gladstone Committee report in 1894, which was set up in UK to reform the prisons in England, the Gladstone Committee report spoke about the role of civil society organizations in the rehabilitation of prisoners. After that, if you look at our Indian scenario in terms of the various committees that we have had, especially the ones like the Mullah Committee and the Justice Krishna Iyer Committee, and then of course the Model Prison Manual of 2016, all of them have talked about the role that non-governmental organizations, academic institutions, and volunteers, etc., can play and should play with regard to the prison administration, as well as the issue of reformation and rehabilitation of prisoners. So actually, this topic is a no-brainer, because when we talk about a person who has been taken into custody, unless the person is going to be decapacitated, which is when we talk about capital punishment, which is again a very small and rarest of rare cases that we talk about, for the rest of the population which goes into prison, they have to come out one day or the other. And we know that the largest number of them come out on bail as under trials, and conviction rates being not very high in our country compared to many other countries of the world. So not everybody who gets arrested ends up with a conviction. And therefore, and conviction rates are somewhere in the region of 50 to 60%. Of course, it varies from crime to crime. So looking at the fact that you have a large number of people who are going in, if I were just to look at the Prison Statistics India report of 2021, there were 18,000 admissions in Indian prisons, 18 lakh admissions in Indian prisons. So the population as on 31st December 2021 was 5.54 lakhs, but the number of people who entered the prison system was 18 lakh people. Now 18 lakh is a very big number, and we don't know what is happening to them once they go out, either on bail or on acquittal or on discharge or after completion of sentence, whatever the situation may be. So if you look at the role of the prison administration is responsible for the upkeep, for the welfare, and for the overall health and mental health needs of the prisoners while they are inside prison. So including, if one talks about education of prisoners, it talks about vocational training of prisoners, etc., which is very much the mandate of the prison department, and they are organizing programs throughout the country in various prisons to fulfill these objectives. But what happens to a person when they go out? Now, in that respect, there is no department in our country which is taking responsibility for this. In fact, I would say that one of the gaps in our criminal justice system is that we do not have a post-release rehabilitation program which is monitored or administered through the government, both at the central level and at the state government level. The minimum amount of work that some of this is done is in some states. Odisha, I know they have post of aftercare officers. In West Bengal, they have a post of welfare aftercare officers. And in some states, probation officers under the Probation of Offenders Act are also given this job. For example, in Maharashtra, there is a scheme for grant in aid for released prisoners, whereby prisoners, after completing their sentence or even after completing their period on bail, etc., can get a grant of up to 25,000 rupees. And this amount is to be disbursed through the office of the probation officer. So little bit here and there, we see some skeletal programs when it comes to the role of the state when it for rehabilitation. And this is where I feel that NGOs can come in and plug that gap. And for that, there has to be an atmosphere of trust. Currently, unfortunately speaking, that atmosphere of trust is not existing. In most states, prison departments are suspicious of allowing NGOs to enter. The kind of NGOs that they allow, and I'm speaking from my own experience of the last 3.5 decades, in most states where NGOs are being allowed, they are only those type of NGOs which come either for spiritual healing or they are here for some yoga, vipassana, or maybe at the most some kind of vocational training activity. But let me tell you from my own experience that this is not enough when we are talking about rehabilitation. When we talk about rehabilitation, you have to look at the person's overall situation in terms of their physical and mental health, and you have to look at the family situation of the person, and you have to look at the situation, what happens after the person goes out. And if one has to look at all these three aspects, the only people who can do the job are NGOs and who appoint and work through trained social work intervention. So what I'm essentially trying to tell the audience today is that there is a great need to have social workers who are trained social workers to work in the system, either as part of the system or through the organizations which can be allowed to work here. My own experience of having been part of this field action project of TISS called Prayas, which has been working in Maharashtra and Gujarat prisons for the last 33 years, has shown that social workers can play a tremendous role in terms of a catalyst to link the prisoner with their family and also after release. We are regularly visiting at least 10 jails in Maharashtra and Gujarat today, and our team has been working there dedicatedly for the last so many decades, and the results are quite positive. And this can be borne out by the fact that the prison authorities have continuously supported our work. Once we started working, we have never had a single year when permission to work inside these prisons has been at stake. In fact, we are probably the only organization which is being given permission by the prison department 3 years at a stretch. Usually our permission is valid for 3 years, and then again after 3 years, it is renewed for another 3 years. This is how the work has been going on. Now, coming to what is it that social workers and NGOs can do? Firstly, the whole issue of social-legal and psychosocial counseling and guidance. A person, when he comes inside the custody, is in a state of confusion, is unsure about what is going to happen to their life, is also very worried about the family situation. And because of this, there can be a number of consequences, including violent behavior or aggression or going into depression, etc., about which Dr. Upneet Lalli has very clearly talked about what are the mental health consequences of being in prison. Now, if there is a person, to talk to that person and also to get in touch with the family. So when we work inside, what we look at is that we talk to the person and ask that person that, is there anything you want to inform about your family? And many of them come forward and say, please contact my family. Please inform them that, I'm inside here. Please tell them that come to see me for my mulaqat. Or in the case of women, we find that most of them are worried about the condition of their children left outside. So they would tell us that, please go and make a home visit and see what the situation is at home. And based on these requests, then subsequently our social workers would either call up the family or make a home visit wherever required and possible. The other thing that one needs to look at when one is looking at the role of the social worker or the NGO that we are talking about is when it comes to legal aid and guidance. Now, already there is the District Legal Services Authority, the DLSA, which is supposed to provide legal aid to people who cannot afford a lawyer, and they have visiting lawyers who come inside. But there is a gap between the access, because many times the legal aid lawyer who's visiting the prison does not have access to all the barracks. They come and sit inside a cabin or a space that has been given to them. And then it is up to the prison authorities to identify those who need this kind of support. Now, prison authorities themselves are so overworked and busy in their everyday work, then sometimes this whole thing of identification of people who need legal guidance and aid can get left out. And this is again where, if there is a collaborative approach between the prison authorities and the organization which has been given permission to work inside prison, they can play a very good role of bridging that gap to identify people who need legal aid and guidance and link them up with the District Legal Services Authority so that they are getting a lawyer. The third area of legal aid and guidance would be a lot of people in prison who have private lawyers but are not in touch with their lawyers, because lawyers may have taken the fees and then they are not in touch with them. We come across many such cases. In these kind of cases, the social worker or the NGO can contact the lawyer, find out what's going on in that case, and communicate this back to the prisoner, and that will immediately create a kind of a mental peace in that person, that at least my lawyer has not absconded. And if the lawyer has absconded, then the person can be guided to say, you can file a complaint with the bar council that your lawyer has taken money and has absconded. Many such cases happen from time to time. And this is especially true in the case of foreign prisoners. People who get arrested under NDPS and those kind of cases, at the time of arrest, some lawyers come forward and they take big amount of money from them, and later on they just vanish. And then this person is waiting for that lawyer to come and help that person. The third area where NGOs can play an important role is to arrange various kinds of activities inside. These could be vocational activities. This could be recreational activities. These could be educational activities. These could be activities relating to mental health, helping them promote their mental health, like through art and craft, music therapy, dance therapy, and things of that sort. Then one comes to the issue of access to schemes and information. You see, prison is a place where a person is in custody, and especially in the case of under trials, sitting and doing nothing. It's like you are sitting for months together with nothing to do. And like we all say, like what is it, that idle mind is a devil's workshop kind of a thing. You see that playing out, because the only thing they are engaged in is talking to each other, learning from each other. And this is why many of our clients with whom we work, they tell us that, sir, हमने तो crime में अभी PhD कर लिया है, because हम जब अंदर आए थे तो छोटी सी चोरी के केस में आए थे, अभी हमको और बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिल गया. So, and this is true not just in India, this is true across the world. There is a concept called prisonization, where a person gets prisonized and person gets criminalized. So this is a space which really can be productively used. I've been talking about this continuously wherever I get a chance. The Department of Skill Development under the Ministry of Skill Development can reach out to prison populations and organize certified courses, short-term courses, depending on the qualification that the person have. Some people are maybe 5th standard pass, some are 10th, most of them are, in fact, the Prison Statistics India tells us that 40% are below 10th standard pass. So keeping that in mind, if one could come up with various training programs, because the Department of Skill Development is meant to organize skill development trainings. Similarly, the Department of SC/ST Welfare, they could come inside and try and inform the prisoners about the various schemes that are available for SC/ST population. Department of Women and Child Development, they can come inside and talk about the various schemes that are available for women, especially say widow pension scheme or schemes for children of prisoners, left outside. And this role of bringing these departments inside the prison to come and give lectures and awareness programs is something that the NGO can play that role. Because as I have been repeatedly saying, to expect the prison officers to be doing all this in the current situation is a little idealistic. In our current situation, there are 30% vacancies in the prison department, and they are terribly overworked. We must also keep in mind that the sanctioned staff strength of a prison is based on the official capacity. Now, if you look at a prison like Arthur Road in Mumbai, the official capacity is 900, but the actual population is 3,000. Now, the staff strength is based on the official capacity, and there also there are vacancies. So then you can well imagine what is the kind of stress that the prison staff is undergoing. So to expect the prison staff to be doing all these activities is all good on paper, but my whole experience has been that it doesn't work. So I have a simple point to make, that social workers and NGOs can play a great role in facilitating the whole process of rehabilitation, both inside and post-release. But for that, we need to develop a relationship of trust between the prison department and the NGOs. By all means, the prison department should carry out due diligence. I am not saying that they should just give permission to anybody who comes and approaches them. They can have criteria. They can look at what is, like, for example, whether the organization is a registered organization, when was it registered, what kind of activities has it done in the past, what is its track record. You can ask them for annual reports that they may have come up in the past, or whether they are attached to some recognized academic institution. In fact, I would say you can even start with allowing students of social work to start coming into prison for their training purpose, because students of social work and students of law are often, they have to go inside various institutions to do their internships and their fieldwork training. You allow social work students because they will come from a recognized academic institution. Now in Maharashtra, for example, all our students, not all, but at least 50% of our students who are from the specialization of criminology and justice, they go into our prisons in the nearby region for their fieldwork training. And through that process also, they are also learning something, and the prisoners are also getting benefited through the intervention. So lots can be done. It's only a question of making a start, and this start has to happen from the top of the department. Unless and until the DG prisons is convinced about the fact that one can involve civil society organizations in a big way, in a controlled manner, not in an uncontrolled manner, but in a controlled manner, then I think the message will go down the line, and the DIG prisons could be given the authority to vet and verify which are the organizations can be given permission. And then based on that, this process can be started. Maybe each state could start it with some 3 or 4 prisons, like a pilot, and study it for 1 or 2 years, then decide whether they want to go forward for it or not. So I'll stop here because I know time is very short, and if there are any thoughts and questions, I'm very happy to take. Unfortunately, sir, I have to go for another meeting organized by NHRC. I'm a member of the core committee on criminal justice system, and that meeting is currently going on. So I had said that I'll finish this talk and then I'll join this meeting. So at this point, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, I'll take your permission to leave.
Thank you very much, Professor Raghavan. You have broken the myth of prison officers कि जेल की हवा भी बाहर नहीं जानी चाहिए और जेल के अंदर केवल कैदी या हवालाती ही आ सकता है. You have given very useful reasons why jail should be open for NGOs. Thank you very much.